show anything to listen now because
One. All right. Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's show. We're excited for all of our listeners and our panel. We want to do a quick introduction. This is your host, Koshan. We have Flo and Lisa here today. Lisa's one of our newcomers. Deborah is also joining us. And of course, myself and Tank will be holding it down until the other guys are able to join in. We look forward to your engagement. If you have any questions, concerns, please type them in. And we are ready to get started. Lisa, the floor is yours.
okay, so my statement says, in my experiences, men allow themselves to be vulnerable to you when they view you as a friend. However, if that friendship evolves into a relationship, then they start closing that part of themselves. What causes that, and what can the woman do to assure that this does not happen, if anything? How can she remain that man's safe space?
Fully loaded question. I'm going to press mute right quick so we don't get the playback. So that is a great question. Tank, do you want to tackle that one first?
Now you go first. 'Cause that's like 10 questions in one.
That's so I'm going to let's try to unpack this question as best as I can. It's a great question. And I want to begin by saying that I actually agree with what you're saying. In the first part, you say men allow themselves to be vulnerable to you when they view you as a friend. And in all honesty, I think that in many instances, friendships have become stronger than relationships because sometimes people end up in relationships for various reasons. You know, they and a lot of times I think it's best when friendships do blossom into relationships and you're able to maintain that friendship in the relationship. When that happens, I think it's easier to maintain that transparency and level of communication. But I think it becomes broken for various reasons. Like you confide in people that you trust, right? So in a relationship, you may lose that trust for something that has nothing to do with them exposing your secrets, but you could lose that trust for a different reason. And now that I no longer trust you, you're not someone that I'm going to share information with. And I can see where once it evolves, that can happen. But you also see a different side of that individual, right? Because when you're friends, you see that person in that friendship space, right? Like you could be work friends. You could be gym friends. You could just be like mutual friends that grow closer. But when you get into a relationship, now we're in a bed together. We're spending the night together, right? I'm seeing you get information from your sister and repeat it to your first cousin, or hearing your cousin tell you something that you're telling your girlfriends or coworkers, or vice versa. So I may see a different side to that person where I could lose trust. And these are just like personal instances when you talk about what causes that and what can the woman do to assure that this does not happen. And I think that they can just maintain that. Well, how can I describe it? That ability to be someone that a man can confide in, right? And never throwing things up in his face, because that's the one thing that men dislike. Don't throw something up in my face. You know, like if I shared something with you, I don't care if you're mad, but a lot of times women get angry and then they want to, oh, you ain't do such and such. Oh, if it wasn't for me, blah, blah, blah. Or you didn't do X, Y, Z. Once we see that you're willing to throw something up at us, then we kind of gradually pull away from sharing that personal and private information. And the final part, yeah, you're like, how can she remain his safe space? You can remain a safe space by just being that person that he can confide in. Just, again, not throwing things up in his face and not making him regret sharing those secrets. Deborah, what if nothing happens to break trust? I think in most cases, something happened. It may not be something that you think was worthy of losing trust, but I think a lot of times something happened. Let's see. Tank?
I'm gonna try a little bit. I'm trying to multitask with this tracking as well.
Right, right.
That is a true statement that men we are vulnerable with females when we view them as a friend. We're just a strictly friend level. I have personally experienced that with a female. We've been friends for years, like probably 10 years, and then so she knew a lot of stuff about me. You know, 'cause you're my friend. I don't mind telling you I did some crazy stuff, whatever, some stuff that you wouldn't approve of, whatever. We're friends. And once we decide, I don't know, somehow we fell asleep and woke up next to each other. So I don't know how it happened, but it happened. So then, so we started doing that a little more regularly. And then some of the things that I told her or showed her as a friend started getting thrown back in my face. Like, yeah, you remember you told me X, Y, Z? I'm like, I don't remember telling you that, but you know what? You know that. So obviously I had to tell you that. So I'm like, yeah, that ain't gonna work. So that friendship couldn't blossom into a relationship because a good thing you know a lot about me, then the bad thing is you know a lot about me. So it's a catch 22. You said what causes what? Was it the second question? That was the first question.
Elaborate, please, Lisa.
I missed it because I had a phone call come in.
Oh,
What was
I repeat it.
No, it's recorded. We live, so we're going to be in the playback. But she asked, how can a woman maintain that, being your safe space, and how can she avoid, that transition? Are you going from trust to distrust?
You have to you have to try to keep our trust. Because once you lose our trust, it's damn near hard to get back. Versus with a woman can trust again. But when it comes to a man, we probably ain't gonna trust again, not you. And that'd be hard to trust another woman at the same time also. But you have to keep that level of communication open, keep that trust there. Because once that trust is gone, ain't no coming back from it.
so? Why do you say a woman can trust again? Because I think I'm a woman that finds it very hard to trust a person again. I may deal with you, but in fact, I'm only dealing in the means that I allow myself to. So I may not fully trust you, but I may still just trust you to be who you have proven yourself to be, but not trust you as my man again.
So let me get this clear. So you're saying, like, okay, and just hypothetically speaking, if you trusted him, this is your man, your lover, but you realize, okay, I can't trust you in that capacity, but we were cool. I'll let you take me out. We could be friends, but I would not trust you, like, with my, like, feelings and things like that. Is that what you're saying? And, and I get what Damon is saying as well, because once the trust is gone, and a lot of men, it changes the dynamics of the relationship. We can still deal with each other, but it's a contract now. If we hang out, if we have dinner, if we do grown folk exercises, that's all it is. There's no more telling secrets. There's no more sharing my emotional state with you, right? Because I cannot trust you. And if you aren't going to help if I have a problem, why share that information? You see what I'm saying? And because we're talking about men being emotionally available, right? And women being that safe space for them. But what's the purpose of it? How does that benefit the man? And this is for you ladies. Flo, I know you're there. Deborah, Lisa.
You actually had a few comments. For one, back to the original question about men and women in their safe space, like, was the original intent, Lisa, that we are just starting off as friends and this guy is talking to me as a friend only? Or do we mean the people that we possibly already like? They just so happen to tell us their business. And then the more I know about your secrets, the more I end up liking you, which probably wasn't his plan. And so in a way, I can see how that could be like, okay, well, he was vulnerable before, whereas he might be checking you out as just a homegirl but because he's telling you stuff, you're thinking it's something more. That was the first part. And the second part is for me, once that trust is gone, we can't be friends. Like you don't get to get back down to that next level of friend because no, like you don't exist. I can't trust you as a boyfriend. I can't trust you as a friend. Oh,
I agree with Flo 100%. Like once that trust is broken either way, I'm kind of done with that relationship all the way around. Cause if you're my man and you break that, I can't be in a relationship with somebody I can't trust. And as a friend, I feel the same way. Like I can't be in a relationship that I can't trust, you know? So you can't disappoint me as my man and still be my friend. That doesn't really work out.
Okay, lady,
My
let me ask Lisa. I'll give you an opportunity to clarify. And so, ladies, do you see why this happens with men? And I don't think that the trust is always broken when you transition. Flo made a good point, and I want to hear your feedback on that, Lisa. And because when I answered Flo, my assumption was like you're friends, right? If I have a friend at work or just a friend in general, and you know, throughout that friendship, like Tank said, we're discussing things. We're adults, right? And we're just talking about whatever. Sometimes conversations go somewhere just as friends. And you can say things like, oh, yeah, man, I remember I talked to this girl. Yeah, man, I actually dated 3 cousins at one time. Or, yeah, I used to mess with some sisters, blah, blah, blah. Just sharing information with a friend because, we're just confiding with one another. But now that friendship blossoms into a relationship. I'm not going to feel comfortable talking to you about past sexual experiences or past relationships. So there are certain topics that will be like no longer discussed with you if we're in a relationship. Lisa, I know you had something to say. Go ahead.
For me, I'm saying in both instances because you do sometimes meet people at work and then y'all friends and it may blossom into something else. Or you can be in a relationship with someone and then that trust is broken. And so for me, I have children. So I oftentimes find myself, even if that trust for me has been broken, that person may have a relationship with my child. And so because of that, I'm still in contact with that person. So to me, it made me just guard myself and okay, I know how I need to deal with this person. Not that I'm remaining in a relationship with that person.
I get what you're saying. And that takes a level of maturity. And I admire that. I really admire that. The fact that you considered if this person, may have had a relationship with your child, if you all dated, I can see that. If you dated someone and, you spent a couple of years together and that person created a bond with your child and there's someone that your child trusts and feels comfortable with. And because the relationship didn't work, some people are just angry. Hey, the cow and the calf goes together. Don't talk to me. Don't talk to my child. But again, I respect and admire you for that level of maturity to say, well, you know what? I don't trust you with my heart, but I can trust you with being the responsible adult slash, stepdad that you've been all these years. Yes, you're still invited to graduation. Yes, I'll let you know what's going on. You can come to watch her play whatever, soccer, basketball, things like that. Am I correct in my assumptions?
That's exactly what it turned into. But it was like certain information, certain things I knew I could trust him with. But as for myself, I knew I deal with you, but I deal with you only in that light. And there's a clear understanding, or I tend to try to believe there is in how I feel because there's no chance of us being back together. But because of that, I'm not going to cut off communication with you if my child is still talking to you. It's just like being a step parent. And unfortunately, my daughter's father passed when she was very young. So is this person stepped in and played the father to my child and still does. But I trusted with her. But like you said, not with me.
Right, right, right. And that can happen. And I've been in situations like that. I dated someone for a few years. Their kids were young. She had a son that was the same age as my son, and we developed a pretty good relationship and bond. And I kept in touch with the kids. They're almost 30, and I, kept in contact with them throughout high school, sent graduation gifts when they went up to college, and as they got older, I was able to communicate with them directly. I would ask her first because she had a son and a daughter. Like, hey, I would speak to her daughter through her in most instances. But as far as her son was, when he was in college, I could reach out to him. And if I saw him somewhere, I tried to maintain that. And I think I see where you're coming from because I think she really trusted me when it came to that. But as adults, we recognize that, hey, the relationship didn't work, but there's no need to remove someone that I feel like I was a positive influence and impact in the lives of her children. And there was no need to remove that just because our relationship did not work. That's a pretty good perspective. Hello, Lola. How are you today? I see you joined in. You can give a quick intro, or if you have questions for us, we've given Flo about 30 minutes right now, so I know she's ready to share the questions that they have. And again, thank you, Lisa. That was really good. Really good question.
I just wanted to chime in real quick
Yes.
because I do think that you can go from being like the friends that kind of tell each other everything. Well, maybe not everything, but where you done opened up about some stuff that may not, be the most appealing in normal instances. But if you're going to move into relationship standpoint of it, then there has to be like boundaries set as far as, like what can no longer, like what we're no longer going to discuss, like how we're no longer going to interact in certain manners, like, like we have been, because now we're moving this into a different space. So we have to be like a different type of mature about this. If that makes sense.
Repeat
Like
that.
I think it can happen.
Repeat that. I missed the first part.
I said, like, I do think it's possible for you to move from a friendship into like a relationship as long as there are certain boundaries that get set, like once you're moving into the relationship phase of it. And as long as like both parties are willing to like, if I'm okay with the things that you've told me you've done, because at the end of the day, maybe that's just things in your past. As long as I can set the boundary that I know you told me you did some of these things, and as long as you don't respect me in that, or disrespect me in that manner, like, you set those boundaries for where you're now taking that relationship.
I get what you're saying. I think that is much easier said than done.
It is.
Yeah, it's easier
Right.
said than done.
Because both parties have to be extremely mature in order to do so.
Correct. And let's see. I'm trying to think if I've ever. That's kind of everyone that I've encountered or even gotten into relationships with. In most cases, the women have withheld information. It's like, my past is my past. No need to discuss it. Blah blah blah. If you care about that, then whatever. But I've always been the person like, hey, I don't care about what went on in your past. Those people aren't me. We aren't the same person that we were yesterday, so definitely
Right.
don't expect you to be the person you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, high school, college, whatever. But this is really good. A really good question. I see. Okay. Valerie says, if you're not able to be open and honest in a relationship, will that work? Once you're in a relationship, I think so, Valerie. But when you're like, we're adults, right? 48 years old, right? At this point in my life, anyone that I meet, chances are I mean, we've had someone we'd encountered, may have had one or two, boyfriends in college, in high school. After high school, in their 20s, they may have been with one or two people in their 20s, one or two in their 30s, one or two in their 40s, right? Now we're up to 8 to 10 people. But that doesn't make them a bad person. But I also don't care about it, so there's no need to discuss those things. So you can be open and honest, but there's certain things like, how would that even benefit my relationship to ask how many people you've been with or to know the people that you've been with? You see what I'm saying? Because we're just starting over. This is us. This is our relationship. And at this phase in life and at our age, I think it's a strong possibility that nobody's a virgin, right? So their sexual history shouldn't really come up, unless there's something that they feel that's important to tell me, like, oh, hey, I dated such and such and I realized that you all are friends or y'all are frat brothers or something like that you think could become a problem. But outside of that, I don't think, that has to be a topic, right? Ignorance is bliss. And then this is good though, that transition from, and this question really stood out to me, Lisa, because I want to follow up to the ladies. How many of you have noticed what Lisa said, that in the early phases, it seems like the man is emotionally available or a lot more transparent than he is once you all get into a relationship? That's my question for you ladies.
I'm going to chime in just a second. Let me pay for this tire.
Yes. Flo, question for you, Lola.
I'm gonna leave it to these ladies. I haven't had many relationships myself, at all. So I'm not sure I'm fully equipped to really answer it. 340 days. But I didn't in the few that I've had, I didn't experience them being emotionally open and then closing off. It was really more the other way around, where they were emotionally closed off, and then like once they realized it was safe to be there, then it was okay. They kind of opened up more. So I didn't have it be the other way around.
Okay. And I thought about what Tank said earlier. Tank gave a great example when he talked about, if you have a girlfriend, like a close female friend, right? And I know this is different too, based on where you are. And one of the callers, we spoke about this on last week. One of the callers, she was from New York, and she said, things are just different. When she listens to our responses, we give she said, like a Southern answer, right? And one of the things that stood out was the relationships that we have in the South, and especially in the rural South, because, a lot of small areas, you have one high school, right? One middle school. So men and women have been together literally since elementary. So we have different types of friendships. Like you really can have these male female friendships that are not rooted in sex, right? So, okay, you said, Deborah, you're from New York, you get that. So it's not the same with you all, right? Like we grow up in small communities, folks ride to church with one another. And a lot of times, like, you can go to this one's house after school. We just hang out watching television. So we have those types of friendships. And in that, now you're talking like, oh yeah, did you sleep with that girl? Oh yeah, we did, man. It was, we're just talking, right? We're sharing information. We're talking about everything. It was, man, my mom was arguing with me, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I'm upset with my dad. He didn't buy a pair of sneakers. So you have that relationship, that friendship. And as you grow older, things happen. And if that friendship evolves into a relationship, I can see how things can change. So Deborah said you have a plethora of people to mingle with in New York. And
yeah, it was a different feel moving from, like, even though I was a teenager at the time when I made the transition, it's definitely different in like how I grew up there and the way, you kind of move up there than down here. Like moving to the South, it gave me like I seen that people, I don't know, it's weird to explain, but people were like, they took more time to interact with each other. Whereas in New York, everything is just so, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know, it's on the go. Everything is on the go. Meeting people on the go. Everything is just moving, always moving. And it just slows you down. Like coming to the South, it kind of slows down how you move a lot of times. And so, you don't just, it's not so many people all the time in your area to meet and deal with. So you start to then make those like connections in a different way. So yeah, it's a difference.
Okay, okay. Tank, where you been? You got quiet on us, man.
That's what they're listening. Y'all getting it. But yeah, so back to the original question from 30 minutes ago about friendship blossoming to a relationship. So recently, I met a few females or whatever, and I told them I want to be friends first before I even think about starting a relationship with them. They didn't want to hear it. They want to go straight to a relationship. So like that was done before it started. I'm like, damn, if you can't have a friendship, how we gonna have a relationship?
Mm.
I'm like, almost goes back to last week when women say, oh, I want to be married within a year. How do you know you're gonna like me in a year?
I think those are just unrealistic expectations that some women place on, themselves per like what's going on in society or maybe how they may have been brought up, because there are some parents who, oh, you got to get married and, you can't be wasting your time with people and, all of that. So I think those are just things that women will place out there. And hopefully at some point they see that it doesn't always do them as much good as they think it does, because you really can't. I mean, it's way better to have that friendship first versus trying to go straight into a relationship with someone when, you know what I'm saying?
I'd rather waste my time in a relationship than waste my time in a marriage.
Right. Or I'd rather waste my time in a friendship versus wasting my time in a relationship. Like, I'd rather know that if you can't even be a good friend to me, I'm probably not even going to move into a relationship phase with you. So friendship has to really come first if we even gonna make it into the relationship portion.
Unique, what do you say about this, Unique? Terry, I see you joined us. Welcome, welcome. I know you're busy right now. Robin says friendship first is definitely important. Sometimes because Robin, you need to dial in or tell us what you're trying to say because your message was cut off, but you did say friendship first is definitely important. And please elaborate, Robin. If you can call in, do that for us. Help us out here, Robin. If she's able to hear what we're saying.
While Robin is getting things together, our question is, what if you're a person that could be a good friend or have a good friendship, but you're not good for a relationship? Like, does that exist?
Yeah,
Definitely. That
I'm
definitely
guilty.
exists.
I'm guilty of that. Everybody's not made to be in a relationship with certain people. We can be good friends, but not good for a relationship. I value friendship more.
I agree with what Damon is saying. Like some people just aren't for multiple reasons. They just aren't, built for a relationship. I mean, it is what it is. Like we can be friends, we can be friends with no problem. But yeah, that relationship part, I mean, some people are good friends. They're good friends and they're honest with their friends. They're trustworthy and everything, right? But yeah, when it comes to relationship, that takes a different type of commitment to be in a relationship than it is to be friends with someone, if that makes sense. Flo, was I clear on that?
Yeah. And I see Valerie has made a statement slash comment on the question that we were going to pose next.
So, and I think that she actually is piggybacking on what Robin is saying, and Robin made a good point. Robin said sometimes a biological clock is ticking, and that's why women put those expectations out, Tank, for an explanation of why women say, expectations out for marriage within a certain time, because it's like, yo, I'm 40, I'm 50, I'm whatever, and I would like to be married. And if this is what you want, this is what I'm looking for. And I respect that, Robin. That takes a lot of maturity and understanding. And if that is what you want, I think that should be communicated, you know, that way you aren't wasting your time. And I will say this to help some of our listeners out. At a younger age, that was an immediate turnoff for me. Those clocks, right? That was an immediate turnoff because I felt like this is not a relationship that's going to be rooted with unconditional love, right? This is an agreement. You know, I knew someone that said she wanted to be married by 30. She kept saying she wanted to be married by 30. So I'm like, so no matter who you're with or who you're close to at that time, you want to be married at the age of 30. So you're going to marry that person, even if that's not the person that you love. But if that's the person that you're with, that's who you're going to marry. And that's how I viewed it, you know, at that age. Of course, I was in my 20s because we were talking about what we would do at the age of 30. Well, what she would do at the age of 30. But as I grew older, I realized that transparency is very important. You know, like, hey, I don't want to waste your time. I don't need you wasting my time. Here's where I am. This is what I'm looking for. And move forward if possible. And we get to know each other as we go on. Let's see. So you can be
But
in a relationship. Go ahead.
Can't you set that standard, and have that and make it known, yes, I'm looking for marriage without putting all the extra expectations on it though?
Well,
This is what I'm dating for, right? I'm dating for marriage, but it doesn't have to happen in a year, or you get what I'm saying? But I just want you to know where I'm at so that if that's not where you at, we don't even go down that road. But it doesn't have to include all the expectations.
right. That's why I understand that now. What I was saying earlier is how I felt when I was younger, you know, a lot more.
Yeah, no, I mean on a woman's part, not yours. I heard what you said was good. I mean on a woman's part, because that's more or less where those expectations come from, you know?
That's a good
And they're not
example.
putting expectations out there like I gotta be married at this time and my biological clock. They're not thinking about those things.
Yeah, men aren't, we respect it once that has been told to us, you know, that's something to take into consideration and something that we respect. But men rarely think that way because we're invincible in our minds. You know, we feel like, hey, we have forever. And like I said, I'm almost 50 and I feel the same way I did at 30 and 20, you know? So I don't think that there's a clock ticking. I can't speak for all men, but personally, I want to pivot to Tank. Tank, male's perspective or point of view. Do you feel like you're on a biological clock? Like you want to get some things done before you get a certain age?
Nope, no rush. But, cause, so I've been married twice. So people always ask me, do you plan to get married again? I said, yeah, and I will. He's like, huh? You gonna do it again? Yeah. I said, you just gotta marry the right person. I'm not gonna say those first two marriages were the wrong people. Maybe it was just the wrong time. I know my first, I was like 21, and that was kind of not a conditional marriage in a sense. But me and her were like great friends after that. Second wife, we friends 3 days out of the week for the most part. So I think what it is when you so I don't have a biological clock, but I do plan to be remarried again. And I got to tone it down because my next wife might be listening on this call. Who knows?
Never know, huh? Lola, we want to hear from you.
Yes, Lola, we want to hear from you.
All right. Robin is saying to piggyback on what Deborah said, I'm finding to say I'm dating with intention. For marriage on the road is perceived as pressure versus transparency. Oh, that's a good perspective.
Depending on who you telling that to, 100%.
Yes.
Robin, 100%. And so
I ain't gonna,
anyone that perceives it as pressure, you know where you stand.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a difference between your intent is transparency, but a guy can be seen viewing that as pressure. That's something.
Can I say something on the subject?
Yes, ma'am.
So I was
No, you
married
aren't
for
vulgar and
20
no profanity. Let me put that out there.
years. Okay. I was married for 20 years.
Okay.
So I feel like I've done it. I'm out here dating now, freshly dating, just the past couple of years. And it just ain't the same as it was back then. But I myself have said I plan on marrying again at some point, but I know for a fact that whoever I deal with and marry, they absolutely have to be my best friend or it's a no go. My point is to do life with my best friend, not live for, not have to make them happy or them make me happy. I feel like that's too much pressure, but simply just do life, period. If I want to go somewhere, if I want to do something, I'm going to tell you, do you want to go? I want to go X throw. Let's go try it. Let's, things like that. And what I found is most men, when they just hear, I want to get married again someday, they instantly think that you want them, that you want it to be them. My thing is, no, I don't want it to be you. I know who you are as a person. We've had that realistic conversation. And I don't want no man I got to hit over the head and drag home. Just to know that you here and doing right. So that has been my experience dating recently. I'm out here. I'm fully transparent about what I'm doing. I would like for everybody else to be fully transparent with what they're doing. So you just know where you fall in people's lives. It's a hard thing to do for most people. That's what I'm finding.
How has that been received
What part?
with your transparency? Just letting them know what you're looking for.
Typically, I don't even say it unless I'm asked. I'm normally looked at like I'm naturally goofy. So I'm cracking jokes all the time. So normally anything I say is looked at like I'm joking. And I'll go, no, I'm serious. So it's like I end up as I get further in conversations with people, they're like, oh man, you cool, you pretty, this and that. So where your man at for real? So it's like I got to be lying about having one.
You know why men, they know that you're online, right? That's just a common line that a lot of men use. But I will say this, that's a man's way of saying they don't want to be disrespectful, right? And they don't want to appear to be negative. But most men that you meet and you date, they've been in relationships. There's always multiple sides to a relationship. So the worst thing that women can do when meeting someone, dating someone, is to constantly bash their ex, right? That's one of the worst things for men that are trying to be in a relationship with you. If a man's trying to get in your pants, he'll listen to whatever you say, right? He's all ears. He's going to be there for you to vent to until you get to the house. He just wants you to be naked, right? But someone that's trying to get into a relationship, that's a major, major turnoff. They don't just hearing you like talk about how wrong you've been done and how bad this person is and how bad an ex is.
I don't talk about that. I never talk about.
And no, I'm just saying when we talk about sharing things and being transparent, right? And being a safe space for a person.
No. I mean,
Yeah.
it's transparent as far as what I want
Okay.
now. My
Okay.
past has nothing to do with my right now.
Right.
Well, it does.
Yeah. Just letting you know,
That
hey, this molded me. Yeah. We all molded by past experiences, which is
Yeah,
cool.
I don't talk to people about my past right off. That's not their business.
Right. I agree.
I don't know them.
Right. So I want to know again, I think Lisa gave us a really great question to get started with this discussion. Have you ever noticed a transition in communication or in trust or distrust as you went from friendship to committed relationship or whatever you had to what's the word I'm looking for, to an exclusive relationship? Did the communication change? Did the guy become more transparent and emotionally available to you? Or did you see a transition to where he went from the perfect best friend to just my man, but not my best friend? And that's for you, Lola. And you said, well, you probably
I'm
wouldn't be
sorry,
the
say
best
that.
for that because you said you were married for how long?
Me,
Over 20 years?
20 years. Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't be the best candidate to answer that question. We're just talking about men transitioning from being this emotionally available friend to no longer being that person, where he no longer views you as his safe space. Have you noticed that transition in any situations where you went from friendship to relationship?
I have, but I know it's going to sound crazy, but I feel like it's not from my doing. It's because of what they're choosing to do. I feel like who wants to come home to a headache or to somebody they can't talk to? Home is supposed to be your safe space. Your partner is supposed to be your safe space. And if your partner can't be your safe space, there's a problem. So I like to create the dynamic of this is your safe space. But if the man don't feel that way, I can't make you talk about something you don't want to talk about or make you feel something you don't feel.
Okay.
So I've seen it, I've dealt with it, but there's not really much you could do than get out of that situation if it's too uncomfortable for you. I know with dealing with my ex-husband, it happened gradually. He spent more time away than he did home
That happens. That happens.
by choice.
I want
That was what.
no, I don't mean to cut you off. I just, when we get to those personal topics, because we don't know him and he's not here, I like to kind of
Right,
stay away. But
right. Stay clear.
I
Yeah.
want to go back to Robin. And Robin said, thank you for letting her know sharing what turns men off. And I want to elaborate a little, Robin, and this is my point of view. Tank can probably chime in as well. And when men talk about these things, right, there are multiple reasons. In some cases, that man really was no good or a dog and mistreated you, right? A lot of times we're that ex that's being talked about, right? And we know that there's more to the story and there's another side. So sometimes in the back of our mind, we're like, you know what? She could be lying just like my ex lied on me. Or, what my kid's parents said about me. And depending on how long you all were together, now we're really looking at it like, well, God, if he was that bad, why did it take so long for her to move on? You know, what's going on with that situation? So there's really not a lot of positive that comes out of that when women, just basically bash their ex. And that's where I was going with that. Tank, can you give some input on that side too? How do you feel about women bashing their ex when communicating with you?
I always tell them, I say, you know what? I want to meet that guy one day. I want to talk to him, see what he says about you, because he can't be all this bad. Like you said, I was talking to a lady who was married for X amount of years. I'm like, come on, you get so upset when you bring him up. I'm like, it's more to the story. It can't be one side. I'm sure she played a role in just like he did, but to the extent that she would go, I'm like, and you stayed for all that? Nah, there's more to it. So I never listened to that. I'm like, yeah, listen, don't even talk about it. Hello?
You're not there alone. You're not there alone, Tank.
Everything quiet now.
It got real quiet. But I did just put in the chat, me personally, and I think that can be a turnoff in both ways, to men and to women, because if you're trying to get to know somebody and all they can do is speak on their ex, me personally, I'm going to think that you're not over what happened there, which means you shouldn't even be here sitting with me trying to date at all. You should be trying to figure out how to get over what happened back there so that this is not the dynamic that you're bringing to this new situation.
That's how he's getting over it, by mating with someone else.
Yeah, but that's not, but that's not gonna help you to meet me. And because I mean, it's not gonna help what's happening here. Let's just say that it's not. Coming here and thinking that you can unload what happened back there. I don't want that baggage. I don't want none of that. So it's not going to go over well if you don't really deal what happened, deal with what happened back there before you try to move forward anywhere else. And if that's the case, then just let it be known that you just really out here trying to, maybe sow your royal oats in order to get over her or something.
Jameson smash.
Yeah, just let her know you're trying to smash. Because a lot of times, in my experience, for men, that is a way that they will try to get over by dealing with women in a more sexual manner, not a more emotional manner. So, let me know where you at with it so that I know if I want to entertain myself in it.
Mm.
Cause
Also,
I might be wanting to smash too. So you never know, you know?
Go ahead. Someone was saying something. Flo, is that you?
yeah, sometimes people just want sympathy. They want to tell a sob story. They want somebody to just agree with them or just to make sure. And I'm guilty of it. Like, make sure I'm not the crazy one. Like, did this really happen to me? Okay, let me tell you this story. Now, there's a limit to how often you tell the story, where you tell the story, but some people they just want sympathy. Some people just want to know that they're heard. Some people want to know that they've been hurt. And really, they don't have anything else to talk about. Like, they have subpar communication skills. So I'm just going to talk about the thing that I'm great at, which is being hurt, being dogged out, being whatever. And it was that man. It was everybody but me.
Mm. That's a great point right there, because some people do lack communication skills, and that's what we're talking about as well, the importance of communication. And I had a friend that made a comment about, well, she joked about her man when he gets with his boys. They talk about old high school stories and football, et cetera, et cetera. And that's something. Does that person have the capacity to engage in like things that are unknown, right? That takes a certain level of cognition. So maybe talking about sports or high school or the past is his comfort zone when it comes to his level of communication. So you made a really good point with that, Flo. And
I also wanted to throw in our question that we had from earlier, from the original question,
Mhm.
if you don't mind. So going back to you can talk to your homeboy and then whatever. So what happens if, you got this homeboy, y'all share secrets, y'all cool, and it does not blossom into love. You end up loving someone else, that someone else possibly being Koshan or Tank. How would you feel if your woman had that friend that's just a platonic friend, but he carries all of her secrets? Would you be comfortable with that person still being her friend, still being her secret bearer, her pillow talk ish person? How would that make you feel?
Tank, you want to handle that?
Woo, that's a tough one. I don't know how. I probably couldn't handle it. I probably couldn't handle it. I honestly probably couldn't handle it. I dealt with that before, but yeah, that's a tough spot to be in.
Does that mean now that he has to now be like the friend-in-law, whereas not all of us are like besties and stuff in order for
Not
you to
getting half
feel
out.
a sense of
No,
comfort? Okay.
no, I can't do that. Mm-mm. 'Cause
So what if
you ain't letting my homegirl come around. She'd be the third wheel.
but what if if there's never been any sexual anything like between them and it's just been that friendship? Why, like, what would make you not comfortable with that if they've never shared anything sexual, but they really just have a genuine friendship and she's not hiding him from you?
I got trust issues.
But that's for you to deal with.
You're right, and that's what I'm gonna deal with it. And that's I'm not gonna deal with that.
Understandable, understandable. Okay.
We got the right to pick and choose what we're gonna tolerate and what we're not gonna tolerate.
A hundred
Oh,
percent.
my man made a good point. So Terry is in. He's at practice. So y'all say hello to man Terry. Terry's been with us every week, but he's starting football right now, so he's at practice. Terry made a great point. Terry said, "Nah, men will not handle that well because at that point, the best friend is just as important as her man." Terry, it's telling hello, and that is a good point because now, all right, what separates this man from the best friend? Like, because you know everything. And the only thing that you're telling me that separates us is, well, I'm not having sex with him, but
Hold on.
we don't
Hold on.
believe that. Yeah, we don't believe that. Anyways,
Hold on. Is he a gay best friend or is he a straight best friend?
right. And even
Let's say
if
he's
he
a
best
straight
friend,
best
That's the
friend.
thing. That's the thing. Why do men just automatically default that, okay, well, he got to be gay, whatever? Like, what
No,
if
no,
he's
no. No. I'm just asking.
no,
Why you tolerate?
he's a straight man, straight single man.
oh, well, she done lost it now. Damon's saying he probably could have dealt with it if he was a gay
Yeah,
best friend
yeah,
versus a straight best friend.
yeah.
But I think there are differences there because, though that's my friend and though I confide in him and yes, he holds my secrets, I'm not loving him the way I'm loving you. I'm not being sexual with him the way I'm doing that with you. He's not,
But that's what
like,
you're saying, but your man doesn't know that. I don't mean to cut you off. I apologize.
yeah, but
Well,
if,
guess what? I've been that friend. I've been that friend before, so I know how I can go.
Right.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think everybody's different. And I think depending on, I'm a firm believer in if I get into a relationship, because my best friend is a man, and he's just a
Single?
straight man.
Are
But
you
I
single?
do think that,
Are you single though?
yes, I'm single, but that has nothing to do with who my best friend is.
So if you had a husband, that guy still be your male best friend?
He would still be my male best friend.
If your husband says no,
I says no to what? Like, what are you saying
he's
no
not your
to?
best friend. Y'all can be associates, y'all can speak here and there, but no longer this best friend. Cut that off.
I mean, but there's no way that you can truly tell me to cut off a best friend. Like, if we're still going to speak and we're still going to interact and we're still going to be friends, right? So what all I'm going to tell you is, okay, so I'm going to drop the best out of friend and he's just going to be my friend.
Now,
And,
friends and best
and
friends got two different. You deal with them totally different. I
right.
got
Okay.
plenty of friends, few best friends. Yeah.
Damon. So when I got married and I had platonic male friends, but once we, once me and my husband evolved into the next level, he was like, you can go ahead and let your friends know that they're relieved of duty. I mean, they can still be cool, but it's
Uh
my
huh.
responsibility and it's my job now to be your best friend.
Correct.
And
You
I had a
respected that, right?
choice, right? And I had a choice to make. Like, I do want to be with this man. Like, I do love this man to be my spouse. I didn't have a problem with that. And when I spoke with my so-called best friends, they didn't have a problem with it. So that's how I knew, okay, this is a real friendship. Now, had they would have gotten an attitude or got upset, I would have been looking crazy. The husband could have been like,
Mm-hmm.
told you so.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Damon and Flo.
That makes
I've
sense.
been in that position multiple times where I have really good female friends, like my best friends, right? And when they're not in a relationship and I'm not in a relationship, we talk, we hang out, we laugh, we're on the phone overnight, 4, 5, 6 hours, right? But when they meet someone, I introduce myself. Men know how to check each other's temperature, right? And I may not have had the best reputation, so I can understand why they don't want the person to remain friends with me. But out of respect for that friendship, I go along with whatever their man suggests. If he's cool with talking to me, I'm going to talk to him. If he objects to it, hey man, I respect our friendship even more. Holler at me on holidays. I'm going to tell y'all happy birthday, Merry Christmas, et cetera, et cetera. But I want to see them happy. And if they're in a relationship and I know that our friendship is platonic, that man is doing something for her that I cannot do and I will not do. So I don't have a problem with falling back on that. And I have to understand and respect his decision because as men, we know what that stuff is like, you know? And I've seen people smile and laugh and talk and knowing good and well they're sleeping with each other, but saying that they're not, you know? Valerie says, so can men and women really be best friends and not in a relationship? Yes, ma'am. That's what I just said.
Right,
I've,
yeah.
I've had several best friends and nothing, never, ever, ever. Their parents know me like really, really best friends. They can call on me for anything. I can call on them for anything. You know, I love their kids like my own. Those are my extended nieces and nephews. And I think that they view my family the same. And once you've established that friendship, you don't cross that line. And I think in my case, it's easy because a lot of instances, my best friends have probably hooked me up with a friend in the past. You know what I'm saying? So we would really never cross that line. Hey, Lisa, welcome back.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Yes, Robinson, my street best friend has never tried to smash and he won't. Okay.
So let me ask you this, Tank, right? Because you said that he would have to go, right? So are you saying that like we can't interact at all, or just the way that we interact? Let me
I'm not
finish the
saying you can't
question.
speak to.
I just want to make sure I'm getting it clear, right? He can still be my friend, just the dynamic of how we normally do things need to change, right?
That's what he said. That's what he said.
That's what I was trying to clarify. Okay.
Yeah, like
And I
y'all are
don't see
good,
anything wrong
but
with
all
that
this
because I
staying
think
up on
that's
the
gonna
phone all
normally
night.
happen in any relationship.
Yeah, all that on the phone all night, or I was too tired, so I spent the night at his house type stuff. Yeah, he's saying that will end.
Well, that would be disrespectful all in itself.
But you have best friends that have done that. Like I've had a female best friend, like my bestie. And I remember driving back from Charleston and she heard, those ridges that they cut in the roads to wake you up if you run off the road. And she kept hearing it. She was like, "What, are you all right?" I said, "No, I'm good. I'm good." And she kept hearing the rrr, 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 rrr. She's like, "Listen, you're running off the road and I do not want to be on the phone with you and you fall asleep, and hurt yourself." And I'm like, "No, I'm good. I'll stop to a rest area." She's like, it was like freezing, like 18, 20 degrees outside. And she was like, "Look, you can stop by the house, take a nap, get yourself together and go home." Right.
Hmm.
Best friend. I was married at the time. So I called my wife, let her know what was going on. "Hey, I'm stopping to her house. I'm going to take a nap. Here's my location. I can get on Google Maps, share my location with you. You see where I am at all times. Hey, I'll be there shortly." You know, and that's a best friend. I didn't even think about looking at her in any other way. And it was like late, probably like maybe 2 o'clock in the morning, 2, 3 in the morning. I took a nap. I got up. It was about 5:30, 6 o'clock. I jumped up, left and went home, you know?
But you also communicated prior to doing so.
Yeah.
Not, you didn't just walk in the door, have your wife be like, well, where have you been?
And you have to know your spouse because my wife knows and trusted me and she's met my best friend. And I think that she knew what it was like. And what's funny is, this has been my best friend for years and years and years. I've dated someone else and they did not agree with the friendship I share with that person. And they were very vocal about it and let it be known. And they were willing to end the relationship if I continued to speak with that individual. So you have to know your spouse, and what they will accept. And I say spouse, I was only dating in the past, but that person just didn't agree with it. So those are some things that I think you should discuss. You don't know what will come up in a relationship, but I think that's something that's important. Terry said that man will smash if you let him. Robin said her straight best friend has never tried to smash and he won't. So Robin, okay, Unique is here. Is your female friend single, Valerie? At the time, she was single. At the time, she was single, but we were really, truly, truly best friends. There's a lot more that goes with the friendship. So I can't disclose right here, but we're really, really best friends. And I think knows our relationship. They know nothing has ever gone on and nothing will ever go on in that situation. So yes, definitely. All right. Terry, welcome. Welcome. Good to have you in.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Sorry I'm late.
What do you want to add for us, man?
I've been enjoying the show as much as I could. As far as men and women, being best friends, I'm with you, Cole. It can be possible, but majority of the time, it's not. So, there's a fine line between man and woman being best friends. Most men, they want to be your friend or your best friend, until they can be that friend. Sometimes they might want to hit it, they might just want to quit it, they might, and step away. But there's a little thing you can do for women. If you want to find out if your best friend, your best male friend is an actual best male friend, call him at a time when you're vulnerable, or tell him that you're vulnerable. You went through something and you want his companionship, and see if he'll do that for you. A true best friend, he'll tell you no. But someone that just wants to be with you and want to be your friend on the low, he'll tell you he can do that for you. What do you think about that, Cole?
I agree. I agree. That is a way to really, really put that friendship to the test. Seeing what here. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so you mean like when you're feeling vulnerable and kind of want to get your rocks off, like test him to see if he'll show up for the task?
You don't have to really be vulnerable, but make him feel like you're vulnerable.
Okay.
See if he'll show up for you. He may not. He may say, we can't do that. Or then again, he may be like, sure, what time you want me to be there?
And I will let you know how this friend views you or how he had been viewing you the entire time.
I think mine would ask me if I bumped my head somewhere
Right.
along.
I was just about to say, if my best friends said that to me, I would start laughing, right? I would know
Right,
something is wrong.
right.
And that shows you like, okay, we're truly just best friends. Like, and yeah, I'm laughing just thinking about that, you know. Yeah, that's crazy. That's like the
And,
craziest thing in the
and
world.
like, I think there's a difference, right? Because I have male friends, right?
Yeah.
But for my best friend,
Mm-hmm.
like, I know for a fact my best friend would never, he would never step to me in that way, though he is straight, right? Because I know also like what his type is, kind of where we've already had that conversation. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, no, we already know we wouldn't even do good in that area. So we're never going to go there. You know what I'm saying? We're going to be friends and we're going to leave it there. And that is where we've left it. Like, has he had plenty of opportunities? And have we been in plenty of situations to where he could have pushed that limit? Very much so. Has he ever once tried to push that limit? Not at all. Never once has he.
Well, that would be a true best friend. If he's
And
had the
that's what I'm
opportunity and
saying.
never took it, then that is a true best friend.
And so that's what I'm saying. So for Tank, right? With that being that relationship, again, can he still come to
No,
Thanksgiving dinners and stuff, or can we not do that either?
no, I'm gonna answer that one for the tank. No, no, for but
I had to ask.
for the simple fact that he knows just as much about you as your man knows about you. The only thing is you guys aren't, you know, getting it on, or potentially not getting it on. You know, it's that's kind of it's kind of a that's a problem for a man. That's almost a competition for him. So he doesn't want competition around. You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
So the only thing, like Hoshan said, the only thing that's splitting the difference between your best friend and your man is that, you guys are actually getting it on, or, doing, in the bedroom doing adult things, and your best friend, you're not. At any point in time, if you cross that line with that best friend, then, you know, he is him. The best friend is your man. Your man is your best friend all at the same time. You understand what I'm saying? So you got that relationship. You would have that relationship with two different individuals. So and men do not want competition. Men can't stand competition. I'm sorry. What you think, Tank?
I'll follow up on that. I agree with what you're saying here's the thing about this best friend situation, right? I really believe that best friends can exist, right? Male and females can be men and women can be best friends. And I think that like when you have these spaces in between relationships, if you were single, that person was single and y'all never crossed that line, I think that you were truly just best friends. They were there for you, right? But I want to know like, how did this friendship foster? What happened? So I've had really, really close friends. One of my female best friends, we were best friends. I used to date her cousin, right? Another best friend was like a similar situation. So now I know that we would never cross that line, you know? So it's like, if I'm best friends and I dated your cousin, your sister, or I used to date your best friend and we became really close friends over time and we were mature enough to not, understand that, okay, things didn't work out in that relationship. You and I can still communicate. The friend realizes that. And over time, that friendship grows. We're friends for 10, 15, 20, 25 years. We're really good friends, but we know that we would never ever cross that line. And I enjoy having female best friends for multiple reasons. One, I don't experience the same distrust that I would from a male best friend or close friend because men and women move differently, right? So like,
Yes, sir.
women don't do the same things that men do to one another. You got to worry about a male friend doing X, Y, Z to you that women don't, you know. Another reason I benefited from having female best friends or female friends is they taught me how to communicate with women. One of my closest friends in school, God bless her, Candy, was my female best friend, best friend. She dated my best friend, my best male friend, but she was my best female friend. But whenever I wanted to talk to a girl, she kind of guided me. She told me things to talk about, told me things that girls like, how to make whatever's important to them important to me. So there were a lot of benefits to having a female best friend and just knowing that, hey, this is what it is. We'll never cross that line. If that, makes sense to what the women are asking. And who's that? Valerie that asked if they can really if men and women can really be best friends, platonic best friends. Jermaine said my female best friends kept me from making some bad decisions. That's good stuff, Jermaine. Let me hit you in, man, so you can chime in with us. Jermaine is another one of our guys on our panel consistently. Hey, what's going on, Jermaine?
You say, I don't know. Hold on. Oh, what I do?
You're here.
Oh, I am. Hey, what's going on, man? Me, bro. But
What's
yeah,
good?
I
What's
mean,
good?
but yeah, honestly, I think, I would know quite well about this because honestly, my best friend is my female best friend. She's my sister. We call each other such. And yeah, there's been a lot of situations where yeah, I know a lot, but I don't know everything. And sometimes you need that second opinion on certain things. And she has been that. And then, good thing about it is she's also somebody that can call me out on something I might not particularly agree with. And I won't take it the same way as I take it from another female. And so in that case, she'll tell me things I need to know. And coming from her, I'm more so listening than hearing. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I see Lisa chimed in. Lisa, what do you have for us? You got a follow up for us? Or are you just coming back in? She's been having a lot of technical difficulties on this end. I'm sorry, Deborah. We have a line for, I'm going to get you back in a second, Deborah. Okay, I have a caller. I have another question that came in, right? This person asks, if you and a person start off as friends, right? You become best friends and then it turns into a relationship. Would you stop telling them things that you previously told them when y'all were just strictly friends? This is one of our live listeners. And we talked about this earlier, Jermaine and Terry. The first question asked was, why do men, I want to get the feedback on this, guys, because you all weren't in earlier. So for Jermaine and Terry, Lisa asked, when men are just friends with you and you're in that friendship phase, or you all are considered best friends, they're very transparent. They're very emotionally available with them, right? They share things. They talk to them. But if that friendship evolves into a relationship, then we're no longer available to women. And I would like your feedback on that, Jermaine, Terry. You can pick whoever wants to go first, but give us some feedback on that. Have you experienced it? And do you agree with it? And why or why not would that happen in that way? Like you're transparent and open as a friend, but once you get into a relationship, that changes.
Well, in my case, I can say if anything, if I can say anything about that, I would say my situation with my female friend was in reverse. When we first met, there might have been a time where I thought she was this and that or whatever, but then over time, you know, she showed me, she showed me something, that I was not currently looking for because I was a lot younger, a lot more immature. And she saw things about me that nobody else seen. And I appreciated that. And to this day, to where it's like, we'll get asked the question, have y'all? And like, no. Would y'all ever? No. And then, and then after the question, it's like, well, in any situation, and I just cut that down. I said, honestly, we didn't got to the point where I don't even feel right thinking that way about it. So it's like, we had this conversation, to get up one night and if they, once again, got asked, would you? No, I wouldn't. And then, and I know we say a lot of times, when women ask, well, where are the good men at? And then we'll reply, well, check your friend zone. I don't too much agree with that because, like I said, 'cause when you take it to that level, it complicates things. Whether you want it to or not, it just inherently does. So instead of having somebody as a friend, now you have them as a romantic partner. The dynamic has changed, even though y'all don't want to admit it. So things that used to be, things that used to not be awkward will be awkward, you know? And see, that's my take on it. So it's like, if somebody is with, if you have a friend to that level, if they're truly your best friend, you're emotionally, that ship has sailed for you. So to the point where you don't even think about the possibility of it going somewhere. But that's just me.
Okay. Terry, how do you feel, man? Do you think that you change from being emotionally available to not when you go from a friendship to a relationship?
Yes, I believe you do. Well, most men do. And my experience is that men who actually enter into a relationship with a female friend, first of all, the female friend knows a lot about you before you enter that relationship. So if she does enter that relationship and, with you, you know, obviously there's something that she sees in you that she likes. She may want to, really get to know more about. But when you actually cross over into a relationship, like you said, most men, not all, most men tend to close off, and they close off because the relationship is just basically changed. So the conversation and stuff that you have is different. When you're in friendship mode, friendship mode or friendship status, you guys talk about any and everything. Because it doesn't matter what he or she thinks about, you know, you, because you're just in that friend mode. But when you enter that relationship mode, some of these conversations that you have had in the past will not come about because he does not want to think of his woman in that way, or she doesn't want to think about her man in that way. So the conversation changes. What do you think about that?
Mm. Ladies, Lisa, this was your question.
But I just in my ex-husband, he was one person upon us deciding to get married. And when he started changing, it was, I mean, later on, after it was said and done, he said that he felt like he wasn't able to be as vulnerable because he started feeling as if he wasn't enough for me. So he kind of threw it back on me. It was like, yeah, I changed, but it was because he felt like he was inadequate.
Well, let me say something else, and that's kind of spin off of what you just said. Men men have a fear complex when it comes to their woman. Like I said, when you're in a friendship status, you talk about any and everything. All right, you can, but after you enter a relationship, fear kicks in. So there are certain things that you knew prior to being in a relationship with him, and once you enter that relationship, you know it's more of a fear factor for a man, meaning that the man will not talk about certain things. He won't carry on conversations about certain things because he's going to fear of how you react to certain things. So that's the biggest thing with the man. There's a fear factor. If you make him who if you make him comfortable enough to come talk to you about any and everything, and if you actually cross over into that relationship status, hopefully he'll be able to continue that, be able to talk to you about any and everything. Now, if that fear factor kicks in, then of course he's going to change. The conversation's going to change. Some things are going to be uncomfortable to talk about. Some things he just won't talk about. But if he's really that friend, that best friend, and you have that open line of communication, regardless of what he has to say, he won't feel like he's being judged from his woman.
Okay. I can accept that.
Okay.
Okay. Jermaine said men aren't territorial with their friends, but we are territorial about our women. So that goes back to what Deborah was saying and Tank tried to explain about, having this best friend thing that has to cut out, and I think that when you're in a relationship, like the guy said, he should now become that best friend. If you have a real best friend, I have, and something that someone else said. So when I got married, my wife had really, really close friends, right? Male friends. And I knew both of them, right? So anytime they interacted, they'll be like, yo, tell Cole what's up, or we'll speak to one another. And I trusted it 100%, because I felt I knew the dynamic of their friendships. I knew these men and I've known them for years and I trusted it. And I think that because I have female best friends, it made it easier for me to trust that situation. Now, what Terry talked about, I never thought about it until you mentioned that, Terry. So that's true. It's like, and what Tank said it earlier too, when we're just friends, I can say anything, right? Because what do I have to lose? So we're going to communicate differently. And now, if we're in a relationship, I have to be conscious of everything I say to you. I have to watch everything I say. Like, will she remember this? Will she throw this up in my face later? So that communication does change. I wish I had a little break right here. Flo, I see you got your mic on. What do you have to say for us?
Oh, I didn't know my mic was on. No, when I think that was Terry that was talking
Yeah.
before, when he was saying how, in a friend zone, like you talk different versus a relationship. And so I asked in the chat, I'm like, is it because it's less judgmental? Is there less accountability? Like, do you feel like, if you can't talk to me about certain things, I mean, do you think, I'm going to get
All,
upset?
all of the above.
Really? Because my husband
All
and
of
I
the
had
above.
this exact argument when we got married. I'm like, when we were just kicking it, like you was
It was fine.
telling
He
me
said he
everything.
tell you everything. Right. Right.
Now
It's
it's like you treat me like fine china. Like I want to hear the tea and the gossip. I mean, granted, he's not doing the same things, but it was almost like I was shut out from that part of him. And so
right.
he had to create a different line for us to communicate with, because the stuff that he was talking about, that was before he handed me the keys. So it did kind of hurt my ego just a little bit, because I'm like, okay, well, you talking to so and so and this and this. And so in that case, he does have a female best friend. So she became that person that he would talk to, but it still caused a little bit of issues, because I'm like, okay, you got a whole wife at home that's supposed to be your best friend. Like, why are you talking to her?
Right. Right. Yeah. Like we just said. Initially, you talk about everything because there's nothing to lose. Right? You guys just enjoying each other, enjoying each other's company. But then when you turn that relationship into a romantic relationship again, now there's a fear factor for a man. He has to move different. He can't say the same things that he said before, unless you make him comfortable and bring it out of him to make him continue to feel comfortable that he can continue to do that. But yeah, it's a fear factor. If he says the wrong thing, you're going to look at him different, or it's going to present another problem, or it's going to present a problem. So that's the big thing about men. Men are from Mars. Ladies want to know why we don't communicate, as well or as often as you would like. It's because there's a fear factor.
Okay, well,
And,
y'all
and
are teaching me something. I'm sorry, I'm going to cut you off, but y'all teaching me something on that, because again, I'm a natural goofball. You want to know? Because I have about three male best friends, and we talk about everything all the time. But you're shedding some light on why my husband may have changed after a while, because I never looked at it like maybe there was a certain fear factor there with him, why he couldn't tell me certain things.
well,
So,
let's put that in perspective real quick. So you got three male best friends
no, I
that
didn't have these friends when I was married. I have that now.
oh, you have them now. Oh, so you're
Yeah.
not married anymore.
No.
Okay. Okay.
And we help each other. To piggyback what somebody said earlier, we do help each other because some of them are married. And they'll come to us and say things like, oh, well, my wife is doing that, or my wife is doing that. Because it's another female. It's a group of six of us. It's four guys and two girls. And we'll tell them, like, you dead wrong. You dead wrong. You shouldn't do that. Or maybe she meant it like this, just to give them a different perspective. So we've helped out in that way. But I appreciate you guys talking about it changing and it being a fear factor once you're married.
Hmm.
I didn't know that was a thing. I thought that would have made the relationship better
No, I want to say
or
something
No,
stronger.
here too. Tim,
there's yeah,
go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, there's a fear factor. Now, I didn't say when you're married. I just said when you enter a romantic relationship.
Yeah, when you're transitioning.
When you transition from being just platonic friends and transition into a romantic relationship, it's going to change.
It,
You
it
you
has
you
to. It has to.
it has to. It will.
Yeah, it will. I want to say something
Well,
on what flow. I'm going to touch on that too. And I hate, man, this 2 hours go by so fast. We're literally down in like 7 minutes. So a couple of things. Just think about the things that you're able to converse about when you're just friends, right? You can literally talk about sexual experiences. Do you want to talk about sexual experiences with someone else when you're in a relationship with someone or married to someone? So,
Heck no.
right. So that's one category that's definitely going to change, right? So Robin asked why does it have to change? That's one of the reasons. Another thing I was going to joke about, and I used to joke about when the show Scandal went off the air, that affected my marriage because Flo, what your husband did, and this is something that I did as well. Before I got married, you know, my wife was my best friend, right? Before we were married, she was my best friend. We did everything together. We talked about everything. But once we got married and things were different and our kids are involved, everything changed. Our conversation was different, but I wanted to create a space for communication. And what helped was we had two of our favorite television shows were Big Bang Theory and Scandal, right? So no matter what went on throughout the week, we got the kids ready, we got everything done, and we laid in the bed and watched Scandal together. That was our time. That was our show. We discussed things. We were like making live Facebook posts about it. That strengthened our communication. So you have to create a space where you can still share a bond and share something that you communicate about, but it's different than the things that you're going to talk about as friends. So I commend you, Flo, and your husband for doing that. And I would advise others to do the same. Find that common ground, that space where you can still have dialogue, because as long as you're communicating, that's the important thing. You know, you have a man that's going to call you on his way home from work. He's talking to you, you know, that valuable time and communication is important. So it doesn't mean he has to tell you all the secrets. I mean, what he used to tell you when y'all were dating, you know, who girlfriend busted window out the car, who lost money gambling or betting on a football game. Like that stuff changes, you know, from dating to a relationship. And I apologize if I was long-winded. Tank, you went mute on us, man. What you got to say?
Nah, everything pretty much just reiterated what we said in the first hour. Just
Right.
being reiterated.
Right. And I wanted to go back over that because Terry and Jermaine were not here, and I wanted to get their feedback on that, you know, transition. And that was a good question that basically drove our discussion where Lisa started out. And if we've been doing it, okay, why does it have to change? Robin asked why does it have to change? Deborah said if we've been doing it, as long as they're not new stories. No, Deborah, it just changes. The dynamic changes. We're different. The friendship is different now. We went from friendship to relationship.
And I get that, but if we've already been so open with each other, right? Again, as long as these ain't new experiences and stories that you're telling me now that we've entered into this relationship, like what happened in your past, I'm not going to hold against you. I can't speak for nobody else. But if we already been talking about this, so if I already know these things about you and I still choose to move into this relationship,
Nah, women, you have more authority now. You couldn't say anything about it when y'all were just friends, but now you have more authority when you're in a relationship. Like, okay, we're talking. You're just talking about you dating a guy and he tells you about a girl he had in Philly that he used to fool around with. When y'all are friends, you can't even say anything about that, right? That's just some information he's sharing with you. He's being vulnerable.
Right.
Now, when you're in a committed or an exclusive relationship, anytime he goes to Philly down, oh, you going to see a little B? Oh, what you doing hanging out and such and such. Not saying you personally, that's your response. It just changes. The dynamic changes. So we're conscious of that. And men know how women like to throw things up. Women will man, y'all will buy 50 gig memory card just to save text messages. And you all brag on keeping receipts. What's the purpose of these receipts? If you don't want to throw things up in somebody's face again, what's the purpose of keeping all these receipts that y'all brag about?
I don't know. I don't know who y'all is because I don't be out here doing these things. So I have no clue.
Right now, if you go on social media and just share a screenshot or a text and be like, oh, I keep receipts. I promise you see thousands of women, thousands. You see viral posts about women keeping receipts.
I see it.
Yes.
I see it.
So what's the purpose
I don't
of those
agree
receipts?
with it though.
Right. And because they want to throw something up in somebody's face later, and guys don't want that. So it's like, you know what? I'm going to limit my communication.
But that doesn't mean the woman that you're with, because I do, that's childish to me.
You need to tell these women. Women do it all the time.
I
With
think
men, you become suspect if you were sharing, and then now all of a sudden you don't share anymore. It reads, as a woman, it reads a little suspect now. Why was it okay to talk about your past experiences before?
But we're just
And
explaining
now,
now.
but
We're explaining to you why. We don't want you to be paranoid or think that he's changed or that means he's cheating or anything like that. That's just how we are as men. That's just how we are. You know,
but you
now,
just made it happen because you stopped talking. I don't care about
no,
what
no,
you did
no.
before.
We didn't say we're going to stop talking. We said the conversation changes. That's why I talked about finding something that we can still communicate and talk about. We can talk even more. We can talk on a daily. You know what? Let's get a new, let's say, hey, do you like sports, Lola?
Huh?
Are you into sports?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit? What do you call a little bit? What's your favorite sport?
Okay. I don't have a favorite sport, but I watch them all. I can follow a game.
Well, now we're going to catch a team. And you know what? Do you live in Columbia?
I
Okay.
see.
And
So
we
they
go,
stuck that on.
so now we want to make sure we catch a game. We're going to sit and watch this. We're going to talk about that. Girl, do you know we traded XYZ? Things like that. Oh, and this is the part that I hate, you all. We've reached our 2-hour mark. If you all have any final thing that you'd like to say, I want to begin by thanking you all for joining us. I want to thank all of our listeners, and I will go through and edit this podcast and publish it. It will be published within the next hour, so you have a link that you can share with friends and everybody can go back and listen. But we've reached our 2-hour mark, so anyone that has any final words, they give us a minute to close. Any final words in the final 30 seconds?
this is my first time and I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. It was good to kind of hear a mix of everybody's opinion.
We thank you and enjoyed having you here. When you join in once, each time we go live, you're going to receive a notification to join us again next week. And I'd love to have everyone here. And please just tell 2 friends, and you tell them to tell 2 friends. And I will tell you all, we do a series. So for 4 weeks, we will kind of discuss the same things. So please think of some questions that you would like to ask the men. And we'll have a few more guys on our panel on next week. We have a few here today that were kind of shy. They didn't want to call in, but they were here with us. So,
Yeah, I explained my tardiness. Like I said, I'm a high school track coach at that time of year. So yeah.
man, no, take care of your business. Handle your business. I said you're coaching track. Terry's coaching football. You know, everyone, they're working. And there's a drive at 5. This is for people that are busy, that are out.